Welcome to Supernatural Circumstances, the podcast where we take you down the rabbit hole into the fascinating world of the strange, the paranormal, and the unknown. I'm Morgan Knutson.
And I'm Mike Brown, and it's time to dim the lights, settle in, come along with us on this week's adventure. So what's the adventure this week, Morgan? If we claim it's an adventure, it better be adventurous.
It is pretty adventurous. I think in a scale of 1 to 10, we're hitting at least a 10 here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is one of my bucket list cases, first of all. This story captivated my attention way back in the 90s when it first came on a show called Castle Ghosts of Ireland with Robert Hardy. Many people probably remember this little series. And it was the story of a fortress, not even a castle, a fortress called Leap Castle.
Okay.
This place, the only way I can put it is that this is a case of human horrors and unbelievable battles that ends in a really happy ending.
Well, that's
good. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's interesting about this for me as a researcher, and I think why this bears digging into, is that as horrific as the haunting has been, as upsetting as the past of this castle fortress has been over the centuries, that even the worst situations when it comes to paranormal activity can be turned around. And to me, that's what this is really about.
Cool. I like that kind of thing. It's not unidimensional. There's a bit of an arc to it.
Yeah, and the entity or entities, I should say, that are involved in this are really unlike many others anywhere in the world. We're going to be talking with the wonderful Vanessa Hogle, and we're going to be talking about this entity, this negative entity that was so terrifying. He ended up in multiple newspapers.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, over the centuries of various owners that had experienced this creature that left an indelible mark on their psyche, and I think on the psyche of the castle and people's interpretation of when they see this thing, what it brings to mind.
So Leap is spelled like leap, and
it is.
Apparently it's like an Irish translation.
Yeah, and it's in a small county in Ireland called County Offaly.
Okay.
So very remote area, and to set the stage for people that have not seen this thing, if you guys want to take a moment and Google this, it almost looks like Helm's Deep, if anybody's seen Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah, everybody's seen that.
Everybody's seen that, right? And those who haven't, that's what you're doing tonight. But in Helm's Deep, you've got these vast stone walls that are just these sort of blank slates with looming over those dark, dank Ireland skies. And it got every possible disturbing secret about this place. It's as formidable as it looks, including something called an oubliette, where people were unfortunately executed in the longest possible way in history, I think.
So for those who don't know, the word oubliette comes from the French word to forget.
Yeah, a little place of forgetting.
Yeah, people are just put there to be forgotten, and there they starve, essentially, in the darkness, alone.
If they don't hit the spike on the way down.
Right.
So this place has a history, I think, unlike any others, and it's worth exploring. But the owners that currently have it have made this place a home and a peaceful place to exist and raise their kids. And they've done it in the most beautiful fashion that I think I've ever seen. And it's a lesson for everybody who's walked through life in these, hopefully not this extreme type of situation, but I think it's something everybody can take a lesson from.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to learning more about it.
Oh, let's do this.
Okay.
So, Vanessa, welcome. First of all, I'm ecstatic that you're here because we're talking about one of my favorite places. It probably one of the key places when I was very, very young that pushed me into parapsychology to begin with. And of course, we're talking about Leap Castle. So thank you so much, first of all, for being here. This is great to have you.
Oh, well, hun, thanks for asking. And it's my pleasure, truly.
Oh, Mike, I'm telling you, we're in for a ride with this one.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I've only been to the United Kingdom. Well, I don't know if that part of Ireland is actually part of the United Kingdom, so I'd better shut up.
It isn't. The Republic of Ireland is different than Northern Ireland, which is UK.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a little place called County Offaly. It's this tiny little spot, but this castle to me has always stood out as something so unique and so intimidating, but it's got such a absolutely fascinating story. And Vanessa, so you've not only written on Leap Castle, but you've visited there as well. And I wanted the audience to really get a picture in their head of this castle. Like this isn't like a castle from Disneyland. This is like a fortress.
Absolutely. 100% it is. But the beautiful thing about it is it's a fortress that is actually being resided in by regular folk.
Wow.
Yeah.
But, Sean is amazing. Him and his wife and his daughter, they're so unbelievably cool and sweet. And he's an amazing musician. He plays the whistle, which is what they call something that's like a flute over there. And he's played it for when my friend and I went years ago. He played it for us personally, and then for the group, when I was the ambassador for Secret Ireland tours, he played it for our entire group. They cooked us dinner.
Phenomenal.
It was amazing in Leap Castle. But they have kept it as original as they possibly can in these day and times. But there's one thing that you can't do. It wouldn't matter if they had went in there and completely redone the inside to make it look like a penthouse in New York. You can't change the vibe.
Yeah.
You can't change the feeling of it. And the second you get out of your car, no joke, not even walking through the doors, the second you get out of your car and walk down the drive to it, you feel it.
Yeah. It's got such an intimidating facade. The front, Mike, if you've seen this thing, it's very broad, it's very wide, it's very flat. Like this thing looks like a wall.
Wow.
And it was considered one of the most fortified castles and forts in Ireland.
It looks like a proper castle. Like when I think about a castle, I'm looking at it now. This is the kind of thing that I think about for sure.
Well, and you absolutely feel it when you're inside there, because the stairs just to get upstairs are proper castle stairs. They did not alter that or change that in any way. There's little alcoves off to the side of these winding stone stairs that lead upstairs into all different little rooms, and it leads all the way up to what I know you're curious about, and that's a bloody chapel.
Oh wow!
Of course. Yeah. But before we talk about that, because we're got to get into the bloody chapel, because this it is, oh my gosh, the level of crazy that has happened over the years in this castle. This is no fairy tale. As much as this is a castle in Ireland, this thing has no fairy tale. Can we talk a little bit about the history? This castle was originally thought to be built on Druid land, right?
Oh, wow.
It is uncertain as to whether or not it is Druid. However, it was believed to be some type of area of worship, whether that would be Druid, whether that would be, your card-carrying pagans like myself, who knows? Yeah. But that dates back to 500 BC,
wow.
I believe.
Yeah, this thing's
they've
old.
actually found physical evidence of that. Now, that is crazy in and of itself. But what is even crazier, and what I don't think a lot of people realize, is when you're talking about, especially Ireland, it is an island. It is not connected to anything. And it's the energy that has been there that long is still there. It doesn't leave. It's not going anywhere. Whether you're at Leap Castle, or whether you're at Giant's Causeway, or whether you're down in Cork, or anything, you feel it. And you just happen to feel a larger concentration of it right there in Lep, and that I think has to do with the fact of, like we said, possibly built. They found evidence of it, on ruins of something that dates back to 500 BC, but also all of the heartache and tragedy and countrywide war and everything that has taken apart on that soil. And that's the thing. And that's what people fail to realize is they're like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe the haunting only has to do with Lep. No, it has to do with everything that's happened on that land, both before, during, and after.
So the castle that stands today was built in the early 1500s?
No, not necessarily. They have actually found evidence that it is that it could go back to the 13th century.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yes. So that's a pretty big deal. I mean, you're talking about over 200 years or more of history that could possibly have happened with that castle that isn't even accounted for. It's just, you're talking about Ireland and going back that far with all the wars and the strife and the uprisings and everything else, records get lost, they get altered, things change hands, and it gets a little hinky. But they do believe that it goes back to around the 13th century. That's a lot of history.
It's incredible, and it kind of brings up one of I think the main feuds and possibly one of the main points of contention about this castle, which was the O'Bannons and the O'Carroll family. And this was something that was a pretty major point in the castle history. And the O'Bannons, from what I understand, were basically underneath the servants of the O'Carroll family, and they were in an out and out clash over a lot of things. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, the Bannons were like not like in servitude, not that. They weren't that, but they were underneath, like you said, the O'Carroll clan, and which I'm going to get back to something very interesting about that here in just a minute that has to do with Ireland, but they were underneath them, but the infighting wasn't because of the O'Carroll clan. That is my understanding. It wasn't fighting between the O'Bannons and the O'Carrolls. It was Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Who was trying to take Lep Castle, but was unable to basically completely take possession, but was able to do some serious damage.
Wow.
So it's not fully taking it, but yes, doing some damage. But he was unsuccessful in the actual taking and occupying of that particular structure.
Yeah, because there's been numerous fires there as well. Like this thing's been under siege. This was a war fortress. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Absolutely, it was. And if you look at the location, it makes a lot of sense. You would think that it would be, things that were on the coast that would be it. But the thing is, it was the infighting in Ireland. Where this was at is in between places to get to. So if you kind of held on to that land, then you had easy access to north, south, east, and west. Whereas if you're on the coast, you've got access to that, and that's it.
Yeah, so people were looking at it for the strategic point, not just the fact that it was like, oh yeah, this is property, but it was the strategic positioning.
Absolutely. As in all things war-related, infighting related, civil war related, whatnot. It's all about, well, just like in real estate today, location.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, it's awful to put it that way, but it's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you were to look at the land today, it's absolutely stinking gorgeous.
I believe it. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ireland is a beautiful country. And I mean, we've talked about the castle on the outside, but let's talk about the castle on the inside, because, we've been talking about, this castle was built for war, and it had some pretty gruesome secrets, including something called an oubliette, which for the audience, that if you guys have not heard that word, it translates to a little place of forgetting.
Yeah.
So let that sink in for a second.
Exactly. But let's give them a visual. An oubliette.
Absolutely.
An oubliette is when you're walking into a room that has an oubliette, you have no idea it's there until you find it and you look down and you thank your lucky stars that you are not in a time where if you even remotely irritated somebody that owned that property, they could just say, you know what? No one's ever going to see you again. And they toss you down this hole where your body lands on spikes.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Loads of fun, right? Not really what I want to do on a Saturday afternoon. But that was the way that things were. And don't quote me on this, but it was my understanding that when renovations were going in and being done, and when I say renovations, I mean not making it to how it is today, the level of bones that have been found over time in that area was astronomical.
If 3 cartloads is what I had understood.
Holy
Yeah, it was.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah, and when they dug it out, it might get a load of this. So when they dug it out, what was really disturbing is that in the load of bones, they found a pocket watch.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, which of course, insinuating the fact that this thing had been in use like way later than what people thought.
Oh, my.
Oh, yeah. It's not, that's not unheard of.
Yeah.
Over there. It really isn't. Totally off subject for just a moment, but I stayed my second time in Ireland in a little town called Balladrine. And in one of the buildings there, this is no joke, in one of the buildings there, bodies were found inside the walls.
Wow.
Whoa.
This building was only about 150 years old.
Oh, no.
Jeez. That's amazing.
So the O'Carrolls had the place from the 1500s into the 1600s. Am I right?
That sounds about right. My dates are a little weird because I'm not a math girl and numbers are math to me. But that sounds about right. It's ask me anything because I'm going to go off on a tangent. So
Okay.
You ask me when you want to know.
No, we love it. So speaking of the oubliette, as I say, like this place is kind of full of these dark secrets, and it really is like it just emotionally is the breeding ground for not great things. And the Bloody Chapel, which is kind of where the oubliette is that right? I know the Bloody Chapel. Yeah, the oubliette's like off of there, right?
If you walk once you go up the stairs, if you walk into the Bloody Chapel, I'm having to put myself back into it. It's got these beautiful, just like a chapel with these beautiful, tall, arched windows. And the oubliette is, you have to walk all the way into it to the other side, to the far side of the room to see that. And you can only see it by stepping over this little threshold and looking down and going, holy crap. But yes, that's where it's at. It's the energy that's inside the whole castle. Here's a strange thing. It's one thing when you walk in the front door. Well, first off, it's one thing when you walk down the driveway to get to it. It's a whole other energy when you're in the downstairs living space area. Then when you walk up the stairs and there's these little alcoves, whole other energy.
Yeah.
Upstairs bedroom, long table in it, little sleeping alcoves, whole other energy. Bloody Chapel, holy moly.
Yeah, the Bloody Chapel for everybody listening, it was named for a really, really specific reason, and it was named when one of the O'Carroll brothers actually slaughtered his brother, who at the time was actually hosting a sermon. He was a priest. He was a priest. It was during a sermon in the chapel, and both of them at the time of the war, they were standing on two different sides of the war, and right in the middle of the sermon, this guy comes. I think his name was Tig, I think, and he came running up the stairs, and just
He
attacked his
impaled-
brother with a sword. Yeah.
Yeah, he impaled him, and he collapsed right there. I believe it's a pulpit.
Jeepers. Did George R.R. Martin write the history of this place? I mean,
Right.
holy smokes. It sounds like a scene from Game of Thrones.
Pretty much. Well, and it really is when you attach the perceptions of the Bloody Chapel and Leap Castle with what people believe today and what might have been causing that. But there's a hiccup in their thought process and their theory. And I would love to get into that, because one of the things that you hear people always ask, and you've seen shows talk about it,
Yeah.
is they talk about elementals.
Right.
Okay. And the elemental in the Bloody Chapel. Now, I will tell you this, there is something up there, and it did not care for me. And that is fine. You know, some of the pictures that I got the very first time I went, you know how you expect some anomalies in pictures. It could be dust. It could be anything.
Sure.
These windows do not have glass in them. They don't. They're open windows. There's no glass in them whatsoever. Please explain to me why I got neon purple V's, huge V's above the windows on film.
Strange.
My name's Vanessa. Go figure.
Yeah.
Right.
They're huge, and it makes no sense.
We've got to get into the elemental, because that's as I say, that's one of the subjects about this castle that I'm really fascinated in and really, really passionate about. And it was during, so the O'Carrolls, they called Leap Castle their home until it was basically wrenched from their hands in 1642 by a guy named John Darby. And the Darby family seemed to be, at least Mildred Darby seemed to be the first one to actually trip over this guy.
Trip over who?
The elemental.
Okay. So let's go back to that. This is what's interesting. Yeah. Okay. We call it today an elemental. Elementals themselves were actually created, the kind that everybody talks about, Leap Castle, were created in the Renaissance by Paracelsus.
Interesting.
Yes. It is, or Paracelsus. I can never pronounce his name. Okay, because it's insane. It's like 5 names long. But he was a Swiss alchemist. And what he did was he took older beings found in mythology and changed their names into the sylphs, the salamanders, the gnomes, and the undine. So I believe the undine are water, gnomes are earth, sylphs are air, and salamanders are fire. So they're supposed to match the elements. But this wasn't until the Renaissance.
Interesting.
Oh, you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
But yet it's being tied to things that happened before the creation of all of these, of many of these issues. My theory is there something there? Absolutely. But are we mislabeling it?
Right.
Think about what we talked about in the very beginning about the possibility and the evidence of this being on a worship.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is way more frightening than something that has a name that was made up by a guy in the Renaissance.
Yeah.
To me, like the way this haunting has always struck me and many others is that when you get a negative entity like this, oftentimes people will use what's in their, either in their belief system or in their range of language to try to put a label on it, to try to categorize something like this. And these entities, these creatures, they often seem to be coming from almost like being birthed out of these places of trauma. And what I find so fascinating, I'm going to read a little bit for everybody listening of the account written for the Kilman Castle House of Horror. I'm going to read a bit of Mildred Darby's account here so that everybody knows the description of what this thing has been perceived as. The thing was about the size of a sheep, thin, gaunt, and shadowy in parts. Its face was human, or to be more accurate, inhuman in its vileness, with large holes of blackness for eyes, loose slobbery lips, and a thick saliva-dripping jaw, sloping back suddenly into its neck. Nose it had none, only spreading cancerous cavities, the whole face being a uniform of tint gray. This, too, was the color of the dark coarse hair covering its head, neck, and body. Its forearms were thickly coated in the same hair, so were its paws, large, loose, and hand-shaped, and it sat on its hind legs. One hand or paw was raised, and a claw-like finger was extended, ready to scratch the paint. Its lustreless eyes, which seemed half decomposed and looked incredibly foul, stared into mine, and the horrible smell which had before offended my nostrils, only 100 times intensified, came up into my face, filling me with a deadly nausea. I noticed the lower half of the creature was indefinite and seemed semi-transparent. At least I could see the framework for the door that led into the gallery through its body. So here we've got, to me, something that's almost pulling. It's almost pulling imagery from the space, which is interesting, because there was a history of leprosy in the castle as well.
Mhm.
And I find it really interesting that it's mirroring bits and pieces of that history in its appearance. And I find this case incredibly interesting for that reason. So
I'm going to tell you right now, first off, that description, which thank you for that, because that's actually the first time I've ever heard that.
Isn't it? It's amazing. Yeah.
It is. And it does not fit the description of any elementals.
Yeah.
No.
It's some sort of thought form or something. I don't know what this thing is. Yeah.
What it does fit is pissed off Faye.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because they can take on the quality of a shapeshifter. And when you're talking about a place like Ireland, you have to realize that they are literally ingrained in their history.
Sure.
All the way back to the beginning of time, for the most part. Like I said, I've been to Morgan's Cave. That place predates the pyramids by about 3,000 years, if not more.
Yeah.
So, and it is guarded by, guess what? The Fae. You know, so it's considered to be the entrance, they said, to the underworld, not hell, people. Just be okay with it. But that actually feels to me more like that. And the energy would definitely be something that would fit that, but not what we consider today and what they considered in the Renaissance to be an elemental.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Sure.
No, I think because I agree with you. I think the label that they've given it, and because I, for a really long time, I was teaching sort of social work and belief systems and stuff like that in post-secondary, and it was really interesting to me because so many of the people in my classes, because like they all came from different places, and yet everybody had a name for the same phenomenon. You know, stuff would go on and they would say, oh, it's this. And it was always something that their culture fully explained. And then someone on the other side of the room would be like, oh yeah, no. You've got it all wrong. It's this thing. And it was like everybody was kind of reaching for that name or explanation, like within their culture. And then the belief systems that are within the culture help to shape the thing that they're seeing. And we see that, Mike, you and I, we when we were talking to Chad Lewis about the Wendigo, you know, and here we had this creature that people were seeing over a period of time, and the way people were perceiving it was changing depending on which beliefs and cultures were being added into it. And it wasn't that it made it less real, but it was almost like the thought form was kind of growing with the, you know, with the belief.
Well, let me ask you something. Being a teacher, let me ask you something. I'm just going to throw two things out there, and I want your honest opinion on it. One, to me, this is not a whole lot different than God. Basically, whether you are praying to Allah, God, Persephone or Artemis or Zeus or Poseidon or, even though Buddha was a god, but, whatever. It's all the same thing, but perceived in a way that makes the perceiver comfortable, okay? The perceiver comfortable. And it's something that falls into, like you said, their belief system. So to me, it's not a whole lot different than that. And it makes me wonder if these beings, wherever they may be, whether they're in Lep Castle, whether they're in Morgan's Cave or the Hellfire Caves in England or whatever, it makes me wonder, do they alter their appearance to be able to be translated by the person perceiving them?
I love that.
That would make them be able to be seen and be able to be understood and recognized. I mean, to me, I believe the intelligence to do that is there.
I would actually take it one step further.
Yeah.
And I would add to that it's not necessarily the entity per se, but whatever is within the range of the perceiver perceiving it.
Mm.
Very nice.
Yeah, because I think you're onto it.
That just, to me, that it's so easy, especially nowadays, because everybody, I guess even back then, everybody has a different viewpoint on different things. So they see with the eyes they've got. That's the best way I can put it. But if you see with more than your eyes, if you're seeing with your soul and with your third eye and how you process information, so you're more evolved, you're elevated in that case, you might see things a little bit differently. Not that the other people don't have that capability, they just haven't evolved to that station yet. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we see kind of a general example of that when we look at the people who do really well at, say for example, like a Gansfeld experiment or a any sort of parapsychology experiment where you've got people, that are being tested for, how well can you receive this or receptive to this, or how well do you do in an ESP test, and everybody's really in a different place with it, and the more open you are, the better people typically do. And the more closed people are, the more skeptical people are, the worse people usually do. It kind of lines up with even those fundamentals.
What I have found, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, or just give me a different way to look at it. I have found that the less open you are, the more fear you hold.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is when you're really open, you're kind of like, okay, so this is what we're looking at.
Mm.
All right. When you are not open, you're like, oh my God, what is that? It's just that, you know what I mean? It's just that you can't get past yourself, for lack of a better way of putting it. You can't get past yourself. Not that anybody is holding you back, but for Lep Castle, it wants you to see, even if it doesn't like you. Because like I said, it did not care for me, and that's fine. I didn't care for it. Lep Castle, I love. Bad Boy up in Bloody Chapel, I wasn't a big fan of. But, but I still respected it.
Yeah.
That's not my home. That's their home.
Yeah. Well, and we early on in this, we mentioned the Ryans, and like I find their ability and their positivity to be so influential, because we got to touch on that. Like, it's so influential in where Lep is now, because I know they went through hell trying to renovate the thing when they moved in. The elemental, it was not happy that things were being changed, so they went through a lot of hell with that, and they came out the other side in a way better place. Can we talk about them a little bit?
Absolutely. Any kudos I can give to Sean and his family, I absolutely will. For one thing, the biggest thing I think that has to be said for them is their complete acceptance of the area.
Yeah.
Sean is a little bit less, at least in my experience. He he's a little less to recognize certain things that go on there, but his wife and his daughter obviously recognize it.
Yeah.
You know, so he's more of the type of, I'm not going to pay attention to it, so I'm not going to worry about it, which is fine, and it works
It's a
great
good
for
attitude.
him.
Yeah, it's a good
really
attitude with
is.
this. Yeah.
It really is. But the love and the care that they show that place, the respect they show the place, and anyone who steps through those doors, as long as the person who steps through those doors shows respect as well, they're completely cool with, you know, and they've done an absolutely brilliant job. They've kept it as like I said, as close to, or, you know, not original, because you can't live that way now, but it's homey and beautiful without being modern and losing its vibe. And they treat it as such, and that's what I want. Anyone that goes there, you need to understand. Yes, you're going there to investigate, of course. Yes, you're going there to observe and to feel, but you're also stepping into somebody's home.
Yeah.
And not just the people that are living there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Because there's more than just this quote unquote elemental there. There's some other things as well.
There absolutely is. A matter of fact, the majority of the activity that I felt and that I got when I was there both times was not so much downstairs, but when you're going upstairs and you're following, it's kind of, you know, like I said, one of those winding stone staircases, and you are enclosed, by the way, for the most part. Except for these little alcoves off of it, little doors and everything. But when you're going up, I want to say it's maybe like what you would consider second floor. There's an alcove to the left. And in that alcove, there's just a little chair sitting there. There's the little stone windows. I cannot explain it. It wouldn't show itself to me, but it was in there.
Oh, wow.
And these windows, there wasn't any bugs when I was there the first time. This was the first time. There wasn't any bugs or anything like that. There wasn't any dust flying around. But I got some stuff in photographs where I'm like, I took them like click, 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 you know, as fast as I could with my cell phone on like a 1 second thing. And you can see it moving. You can absolutely see it moving. Not unfriendly, just cautious.
Yeah. Interesting.
And definitely a female vibe. And I don't think that the caution was towards me or the person I was with.
Yeah.
I think they were just cautious by nature based on what they dealt with while they were there.
It's so interesting because like I always find places like this, and the mix of different phenomenon and activity is, and the dynamic between them is always really intriguing to me. And the dynamic between the people and the phenomena. And like, I know with the Ryans, and this, I remember this story when, I don't know if you guys have you guys seen Haunted Castles of Ireland that was done by Robert Hardy. This was like back in the 90s, I think.
Probably did. I'm 51.
It was really good, and it was my first introduction to LEP when they covered it on that show. It was really interesting, and I remember them talking to the Ryans and the struggle that they had when they went in, to the point where they felt that this, you know, one of these entities ended up pushing, or Sean Ryan felt that he was pushed off of a ladder while he was trying to redo the castle, and he ended up breaking his knee, and there was this sort of a battle that kind of ensued. And then the turning point for them was when they were trying to deal with the Bloody Chapel and figure out what they were going to do, and their decision was that they were going to hold a celebration and baptism in the Bloody Chapel. And they said at that moment things seemed to start to turn for them, because they reassigned the association with that space.
Well, and that's what needs to happen, and that's
totally.
See, and I want to thank you for bringing that up, because I think we are. And by the way, with all of that would have happened literally right after the Ryans got it.
Yeah,
you know, which is amazing that they were willing to go ahead and do that. I'm gonna have to go back and see if I can't find that. But that's one thing that a lot of people seem to want to do. They want to go in and they want to cleanse the space. Which, by the way, I'm sorry, y'all, nobody can actually do that. And
I hear you.
Isn't anybody off, but guess what? Guess what? I'm gonna call a spade a spade. It is what it is. But they want to say they can, and they want to try to do that, and they want to be all Billy Badass and everything, and that's fine. But whatever happened to just saying, you know what? You were here first. I'm going to respect your boundaries. You please respect mine. And how about let's coexist? Because I know that your energy is infinite, as is mine.
Yes.
And we're all going to have to mix together at some point in time. So why don't we find some level of respect for each other? What's wrong with that?
Well, and I think you really bring up a good point, because I'm a firm believer in this too, and it really comes down to your own, what you are bringing to the table. And Mike and I've talked about this so many times, that it's how you're coming into the space. It's where, if you're sitting in a sort of in an emotional frequency, or where you're resonating with these things, if you're in anger and frustration and all of those things, you end up resonating with this stuff. You clean up that emotional state, and all of a sudden stuff starts to shift and stuff starts to change. And it's like, and it really comes back to the people. So I couldn't agree with you more.
You really hit the nail on the head. You actually just made me realize something that I didn't realize. And I'm pretty damn astute, okay? And I didn't get it. My first trip there was when it didn't care for me. My second trip, it was a completely different vibe for me.
Interesting.
Is it possible that my first trip there, it recognized my energy, I recognized it, and it thought I was going to be one of those jerks that thinks that I can go in there and say, hey, get out? That's possible.
It's totally possible, yeah.
Yep.
And you know what? Shame on me if that would have ever been my intent.
I think we're touching on something that's so major here, because this type of anytime you get this kind of a haunting, there you can't go in and fight your way through, because as soon as you're putting resistance into something like this, and this is the one thing that the Ryans, I think, have done so brilliantly, is that they didn't put resistance into it. When they came in, it was like you touched on it, earlier. It was a matter of accepting what is. They might not have been happy with what is, but they were accepting of what is. And once they were accepting of it and they made peace with it, then all of a sudden you start to see this change. And now, in a place where you'd think this is unlivable, they're living a really, really happy life. And they don't, as far as I've read, they don't really see this thing at all.
No.
And it really goes to show what the right attitude, energy, emotional work, all of that does to a situation that looks so severe, and it that goes back hundreds and hundreds of years, and yet you can walk in today and it can be okay, depending on where, like, if you're the one doing the work.
You know what makes me sad is that there will be some people that listen to this that will be like, well, I don't want to go there if it's not going to be crazy.
Right.
No. See, that's the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's not have that attitude, because that's the wrong attitude. You can go in and get activity and feel things and recognize things and interact with the energy that is there. And it's completely okay for it to not be negative.
Yeah.
If I get no message across other than that, I will be happy.
100%.
Because that's where the understanding comes in.
Yeah.
That's you have, and first and foremost, I have to say this simply because I love the people that own that house. Okay. Because to me, it's a house now. If anybody listening to this does decide to go there and thinks that they're going to go in there and stir something up and then leave it for the Ryans to have to deal with, please pray I don't ever find you.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not nice.
I just want to go visit. I
Right?
just want to visit a cool place.
Yeah.
Perfect. You would love it. You would love it. I still, even been there twice, I still haven't got to see all the grounds that I want to see and everything there. you know. But it's just, if you go in there with respect and to the Ryans, because I will tell you now, they have, I believe personally, that they have kind of melded together the energy there and their energy. And I believe that anything that is there now is protecting them as opposed to opposing them. So if anyone goes in there and their energy doesn't mesh with that, don't expect a happy time.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I'm not going to say I hope that happens, because I wouldn't want to stir anything up for the Ryans, but, you know, you reap what you sow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, Vanessa, this has been amazing. And I am so glad that you were able to come and join us to talk about this. And we're having you back, just so you're aware.
Oh, yay!
We're telling you now what.
I don't even know if I touched on everything you wanted to talk about. So if I didn't, I do apologize.
Oh, gosh. We'll have to do another one, because
Yeah.
there's so much here, Mike, right?
Oh, there's definitely a lot. I mean, there's so much to cover. Now, before you go, I want to know how to pronounce your last name. So if
Bless your heart. Yeah, because everybody gets it wrong. It's Hogle.
Okay.
Yeah. And anytime you ever want to talk about Ireland or England or Scotland, I'm your girl, because I've been there and I love it. And I'm part Irish. So my family...
I'm half Irish, too.
Yeah, my family settled Castle Pollard, Ireland.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
I actually got to go there the last time. So it was a soul moment for me. It was pretty awesome. So...
That's lovely. Well, thank you so much for all of this, because it's been so great, and the conversation's been wonderful. And yeah, we'll be doing this again. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Well, thank you guys, and y'all have a wonderful evening, okay?
You
you too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a story. I'm really interested about this place. It is obviously a place, if I go to Ireland, I'm going to have to go visit, because holy crap, what a fascinating place. Tell me more about the Ryans. I'm really interested. You said you wanted to talk a bit about them.
Absolutely. This is the aspect of the Leap Castle case that has always really fascinated me, because throughout my studies with hauntings and things like that, the human aspect to me is something that is often overlooked. And it's something, I mean, we've talked about it a lot on the show, but so many times people go into these situations and think this activity is asserted on them. They can't do anything about it once they're there. You know, it is what it is. Everything's sort of stagnant and stuck. And that's really simply not true. And this case, I think, and the Ryans specifically, have demonstrated this so beautifully, because, you know, as we've just heard from Vanessa, we've had this horrific history, probably one of the most terrifying histories of any castle in the United Kingdom and Ireland. And now we've got this family who has moved in and had this incredible baptism for their baby, and chose to have the baptism and the party in the bloody chapel with the oubliette. Of course, it's been, you know, packed over with dirt and things like that, but it's in the corner of the bloody chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how having that celebration, having that peace, and beginning to reassociate this space with love and joy and positive memories was really such a turning point in reshaping how they were seeing this space and how they were interacting with it, and what a difference it made.
Yeah, you've talked a lot about intention as an important part of your experience with anything. And I think that's probably why exorcism works for some people.
Yeah.
Because they believe that they're changing their perception of the event by allowing something else in, essentially.
It makes total sense. And you're making such a great point, because what we see in movies and TV and stuff like that, it really isn't an accurate portrayal of the majority of exorcisms. Most of them, when you go back through history, no matter what culture you pick, and especially the exorcisms in Catholicism and whatnot, they're actually done in silence. Or a lot of them are done in silence. And most of the decision making that people are forced to make when they are allegedly, possessed by whatever, is they have to decide that I no longer want this for my life. I no longer want this. And so many of the exorcists over the years have said that is where the battle is people that are really connected to these entities or that story of themselves being sick or ill or anything like that. And they have to make the decision, I am letting this go. I'm letting this toxic relationship go. And that's when there's a breakthrough within the exorcism. So I think with cases like this, we kind of see again that sort of that pattern reflected back yet again.
I'm blown away by all this stuff, and this is the kind of thing that I am really interested in. It's not all the woo-woo and the run around with, electric meters and try and figure out all this stuff. Like, this is, to me, is the root of things supernatural. It's about psi, essentially.
Yeah, and to me, this is, like this is where it gets really interesting, because it begins to answer a lot of questions about not only the world around us, but ourselves. What can we do? What can we present that is going to make a difference in our lives and in our environment? What do these cases have to do with us today? Well, a lot.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Leap Castle, very, very interesting case.
It's phenomenal. And it's one of my, as I say, bucket list cases. It's one of the first cases that got me interested in pursuing this entire world of parapsychology as a career, because it was so impactful. And I don't think it's going to be the last time we touch on this case, because there's so much more that we didn't talk about.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess people can Google in the meantime.
Absolutely. There's so many resources. The Leap Castle official website as well. They have got information galore. The research that has been done has been so thorough over the years. And it's Ghosts Abroad, Ireland, which is Vanessa Hogle's book. There's Leap Castles featured in there as well, so they can check that out.
Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us on this eerie expedition.
And remember, the line between the natural and the supernatural is often a thin one. Until next time, stay curious, friends.
Supernatural Circumstances is a co-production of Entity Seeker Paranormal Research and Teachings and Good Egg Studios. This podcast is part of the Curious Cast podcast network. Theme music by Corey Johnson of Catalyst Records in Edmonton, Alberta. You can learn more about Morgan Knudsen at entityseeker.ca and learn more about me, Mike Brown, and listen to my show, Dark Poutine, at darkpoutine.com. Feel free to email the show at supernaturalcircumstances@gmail.com.